All right, hey, good morning, everybody. Here to do a video today on fluoride. I have been researching this for the past month or so, and this controversy is not new. It was new to me and probably new to most of us, but it's been going on for 6, 7 decades at this point. If you're like me, I get questions at my dentist's office about wanting to put like a fluoride cream or a coating on their teeth. When we go to the dentist, it's common. There's still questions about whether it's amazing or whether it's bad for you. So I decided to dig into this one myself. So is fluoride killing us, as some would lead us to believe, or is it a perfect savior that's just amazing with no faults? So the history of this starts, I'd say, back in 1931. Is probably the best place to start. 1931 in Bauxite, Arkansas, I think that's how it's pronounced. There's a chemical plant there, alcoa, which I used to associate with great sports highlights back in the 80s during commercials and stuff. And so I have positive associations with them. But anyhow, they were noticing that the kids' teeth in that area were really brown. And so the chemists started to become concerned. So they started to research into that and found that they had 15 parts per million fluoride in the deep drinking wells of this town where Alcoa was making aluminum, and fluoride is one of the byproducts along with methane. Anyhow, so they started to research this more. It was also bad PR for Alcoa. They also started to realize, though, as there's a Dr. Dean, who was one of the researchers, and Dr. McKay are the two main ones, two dentists who started researching this stuff. Two things came up. One, they realized that they also weren't having cavities. That's a good thing. But also they're getting these brown stains in their teeth that were going on. So this controversy was brewing. They did a study in 1945 in Michigan, a famous study, and this is Dr. McKay who did it, found that Grand Rapids kids who got 1 part per million of fluoride versus the control group, Muskegon, Wisconsin, or Michigan, just down the road, got nothing. The kids in the Grand Rapids area were doing remarkably better. I mean, 25 to 50% less cavities, and this was proven true across other studies from a cavity standpoint since that time. So much though that Muskegon was like, "Hey, we're tired of being the control group. We want less cavities too. What are you doing?" They stopped the study early actually because of that. So anyhow, this started kind of the movement of putting fluoride in the water at a much lower rate than 15 parts per million, more down to 1 part per million. So anyhow, that's how this kind of started. The American Dental Association in 1950 officially recommended it as something to put in water to help with that. Currently, 72% of homes in America have access to fluoridated water. The fighting continues from town to town. The usual kind of thing. My town has 0.6 parts per million. I checked that out and called them because I love my well water around here. This is where part of this started. Let's see what else. In 2011, though, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services decreased the recommended amount to 0.7, down from I think 1 part per million. So that's clearly seen as too high of a levels going on there. So trying to figure this out. Along the same time, we've also kind of gotten this fluoride craze. It's also been put in anything that's processed with water. So teas, bottled water, toothpaste, raisins, wine. Teas have 3.73 parts per million of fluoride, way higher than what's needed. Raisins have 2.3 parts per million, way higher than what's needed. Wine has 2.202 parts per million. So I mean, we get it in toothpaste and water, and then in the water supply. I think the question more these days is there's a benefit of fluoride, but how much is too much is one of the questions. And the second question is it really needed anymore? And if we're going to do it, why not just put it topically in our teeth with toothpaste? Why put it in our water? Like, why do we need to ingest it? So the concern here is, I think a couple of things too is it originally started as a history with fluoride as rat poison, cognitive deficits, fractures. So that's a bad start. Number two, we also have a history in our country of science selling out to corporations in our country, which continues. And I'm talking here in 2025. Asbestos, DDT, Agent Orange, origins of COVID, lack of talking about natural immunity with COVID, tobacco. So clearly this is all going on in 2020, 21, 22. So this is human nature has not changed here. Corporations still put big money towards trying to make themselves look good and prevent lawsuits. So this is a healthy public skepticism towards fluoridation in the water supply. It's still used as a byproduct. I think it sounds like largely from phosphate plants in Florida is where we get it these days. It's a nice, convenient way to take care of our fluoride waste. So the question is, there's a little bit of both, but clearly history there. Getting back to the evidence, which I think is, and the science, which is probably the most important thing to look at. Just 2023, 2024, the fluoride study looking at neurodevelopment and cognition found that high quality studies, 18 out of 19 of them found drops in IQ. And they looked at 1.5 parts per million of fluoride in the water. 46 out of 53 low quality studies also showed a drop in IQ. They looked at fluoride levels and in I think it was the pregnant mothers and the outcomes on the kids and IQ test later. So anyhow, that's what they looked at with that. So clearly there's a drop in IQs of kids when there's fluoridation, certainly at 1.5 parts per million. They didn't look at it lower than that. That's a recent study, solid study, systematic review, lots of studies they looked at. Like I said, probably 72 total studies, and 19 of them were high quality studies. That's solid evidence there. Something else that's interesting is it needed at all? Europe and Canada do not fluoridate their water. Europe has similar cavity rates that we do. So do we even need it anymore? Or are we just kind of helping pay corporations and just take care of their their fluoride waste? Which one? And my other one of my closing thoughts here is the benefits of fluoride, which fair studies show that too. Why not just use it in our toothpaste? Its benefit is on our teeth topically. The bad side is when we ingest it. So why do we need it in our drinking water? We actually ingest it where there could be harmful effects. Why not just take it out of the drinking water, keep it on the toothpaste, probably call it good, and probably stop having our dentists talk about it to us when we go visit them. Because if we're getting it all in our toothpaste, which most toothpastes have that, then we don't need it anywhere else. So anyway, one last thing is what's the drop in IQ? Kind of what's the risk here too? I'll talk about that a little bit. For every 1 milligram per milliliter increase in fluoride, there's a 1.63 drop in IQ. That was from the 2023-2024 study that was put out recently too. So I don't know about you, but yeah, I don't want that for myself or for my kids, affecting my cognitive health. So anyhow, that's where I land on that. I tried to lay out the facts as much as I could and the history. I think it's good to know the history. Like I said, taking into account the corporate influence, which continues to be a huge influence in our country these days in America, and also obviously laid out my opinion on that too, my proposal moving forward. So hope this is helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button or subscribe on it, and hope you all have a great day. Thanks.